Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. As always, hopefully you are all having a great weekend or a great week whenever it is that you are listening. And here we are again, Anne, Sunday morning.
Again?
Off again. Are you happy to begin?
I am, yes.
Fantastic. Where would you like to start this morning?
Really with some thoughts, in a way. In
Right.
a way it's thoughts, it's not thoughts.
Right.
It started off with the way the world is at the moment.
Okay.
Turmoil. I would call it turmoil. And people think that we are progressing. And I had to I sat down and put some words down, which I sometimes do, is I just let my thoughts flow.
Right.
So I sit down with a pen, don't know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
And sometimes that just clears my head.
Okay.
So it can be anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
But at this particular time, it was my worry about the way the world is going.
Okay, that's interesting. So you've done some writing this
I've
week.
done some writing, yes.
And you brought it, you'd like to share this morning?
I'd like to share it
right.
with everybody,
Okay,
yes.
fantastic. That's interesting. Okay.
It's when, and this is just the way I write it, so I can only read it the way it's written.
Right, okay.
Whether that's sometimes no full stops or
Yeah. Well, that's how we speak, don't we?
It's how we speak, yes. So, yes.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just go for it.
When the wheel was invented, it was the regression of man. The mechanics of the wheel took away the human's transport of legs, be this by horse or walking. The washing machine, the dishwasher, the vacuum cleaner, all in their way, robots. We were told to make life easier, quicker, to be able to do more things. This is not so. How many times in a day do you hear my knees, my back, my ankle, all joints that were lubricated by the food we ate? Meat with fat, fruit from the tree. Hands rough, tough from hard work. The robots you talk about are jointed in the same way as humans. The human frame, yet can only be guided by batteries and outside influence. Take the battery out, immediately it stops. The human is run by internal energy as one from the one, God sent. It's an expression of feeling, mentally, emotionally, physically. If one has experienced the love of an animal, so unconditional, they have a head start. A dog sleeps a lot, yet runs like the wind, no stiffness, freedom. It knows instinctively when to guard and protect. It also learns greed from man for unnecessary treats. Man makes it fat and causes it fat and causes human illnesses like arthritis in the bones of the animal. No insight. Wake up, people. That is all that is needed. See those with nothing. They laugh, they talk, they dance, they share the little they have. Stop putting power into inanimate objects. Let the child push the car, ride the bike, not something that's run by electric. Let their legs work. They need to work. How many could do a minute mile now or wish to? Look to the hazards of a mechanical world. It makes me sad.
Wow. Thank you for reading that. It's fascinating.
And it's how I feel.
Right.
I wouldn't always say that the words just come to me. I don't do it from thought.
It's from feeling.
It's from feeling. It's the feeling that comes through and I just write it.
So the human being now is prioritising technology, and that is taking away and has taken away for a long time now the human potential, the human capacity for growth.
Yes. Even as far as the wheel, as I'm saying, inventing the wheel.
A long time.
It's a long time.
Long time.
So we started to, I think even with the wheel, we started to rely on another form of transport than our own legs or horses or animals.
It's interesting. It is interesting to think about where would humanity be if it had continued on its evolutionary track without huge technological intervention.
Yes.
Would it have plateaued, which is possible? Would it have regressed, which is possible? Or would it have progressed, but in another way? That the human being would have evolved and continued to evolve out of its environment, which you highlighted in your writing, and abilities would be unlocked, potential would be expanded, learning, growth, potential physically, potential mentally, potential emotionally, and all of that synergized, could be said, potential spiritually, in terms of its collective power, the power of collective humanity. All of this is hypothetical this morning,
Yes.
at least in our conversation. But it is interesting. It is interesting. And it really is pertinent with the ever-encroaching robotic age, when we have tech billionaires, potentially trillionaires, excuse me, who are mandated to mass produce AI-infused humanoid robots for people's homes, for children's schools, for army, for war, for physical jobs, for any potential physical task, and this being expedited to years within the next 3, 5, 7, 8 years. It's not a very long period of time at all, and huge, astronomical, ginormous sums of money being invested
Trillions.
in this technology globally. A huge bubble that is grown around this, and a huge amount, not only of money, not only of people placing their goodwill into this in terms of business and human systems around the world, but potentially the future of humanity. The future of humanity is being placed as a chip in terms of a bet on this being the future for humanity. And I am deeply concerned about this, because it is not wise, and it will not be the future that those who speak about it in glowing terms, it will not be that. So your concerns I share, as I am sure many of you, all of you listening now, are concerned about the technocratic, technological, robotic age, the digitalization of the human experience, and potentially the end of what it means to be human.
Yes.
In its current form or guise. Now that sounds like hyperbole. It sounds like I am exaggerating. But it really is that, in terms of potential outcomes. The best scenario is that people put forward that this technology is going to solve all the problems. It's going to solve the discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. It's going to create such a level of efficiency that education and health and transportation and the environment all can be improved exponentially by this technology. This is going to create such a vacuum of meaning. It is not going to be reliable. The amount of energy that's going to be required to sustain such a system is astronomical. That in itself is going to damage the environment if it was to play out. It is not going to create a much more equitable, in opportunity and fairer human civilization across the world. This is madness. It is madness pushed by a few mad individuals who, through their own egotistical and psychopathic visions of the future, are galloping towards hell upon earth. And humanity is not being consulted about this properly. They are being told, they are being programmed, and they are being fed this, quite literally fed it in some cases. And in terms of idea, the propaganda about it has been incessant, and only now the rumblings and the musings of concern are being put forward, and they are there, but they're not strong enough. And there are no leaders, or very few leaders across the world, who are pushing back on this encroachment of the robotic, technological, digitalization age. There are very few voices on the global stage who are articulating with clarity and passion and concern about this. There are many on the ground level, as I'm sure many of you listening this morning have spoken out, have thought about, and are aware to varying levels of this. This is it. If we are looking at the arena for change, this is it. And it is a meta theme that runs under many of our podcast episodes from the start, to be honest, Dan. And I am increasingly, and I hope effectively, and always from my point of view, sincerely and openly and honestly and genuinely, this is not the future for humanity as far as I am concerned. I strongly suggest that as a collective humanity, we make another choice, that we use technology, but only to the point that it cannot use us. This is an astronomical step too far, and it's being led by psychopaths who are increasing their wealth and power beyond measure, and this is not the greater good. This is not the future as far as the greater good is concerned. And I strongly suggest in the most fervent of terms that we forge another path, and we do it now. I know I've spoken for a while there, Anne. I hope that that's clear. There are many, many things that could be said. There are many framings of a potential future that you could use. It's an emotional response as well as sharing and outlaying some ideas, thoughts, concerns, and fears about this. But the feeling underneath is so strong. I have to focus, and I hope it's clear. I really hope it's clear how strongly I feel about this and how certain I am that this situation across the earth now that is being pushed right around the world now, this is not the future for humanity as far as I am concerned. And I am certain, I know that for many humans, the majority of humans, this is not the future that they would like either.
I agree completely with you, what you're saying. What I'd like to say, and part of what I did say, I was talking about inanimate objects.
Right.
This robots have bothered me since being a very tiny child. I've always had a fear of anything that was... I think even the first one, which is people might laugh at really, was Punch and Judy.
Right. Okay.
Because Punch and Judy used to be at the seaside for all children to watch. And Punch and Judy really frightened me.
Well, it's concerning on many levels, isn't it?
It is, yes.
It's domestic abuse and violence.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
So that used to bother me even as a child.
Yes.
But then when I saw in China the marching of the forces with the robots, and then I saw the dogs, the robots themselves...
Are you talking about the military parades?
Yes, that's right.
The military parades, right, okay.
The robots themselves really bother me.
The robot dogs?
No, the robots
themselves.
The robots themselves bother me.
It's not just in China.
I know, but this is where I saw it. That's
right,
what
okay.
It's the program. It's the program that brought me to sitting down and
writing this. I understand.
So then when I saw the dogs, it's, in a way, the dogs bother me more than the robots, which is odd, isn't it? Because it's insulting for me, for anybody, to try to replicate a dog that gives so much love, so much comfort from its physical body. A dog just curling up to you and putting its head on you and just being quiet.
Yes.
That can't be replicated by a robot.
No.
And the robot can't guard you like a dog can. The robot can't sense. And I'm saying this because sometimes in this time, I think your pets. I don't have a cat, so I can't. I'm not just saying dogs for a reason because I don't have a cat. But for me, your animal that senses whether you're upset, whether you're joyful, and is the first things come to you in a comfort or to guard. That somebody thinks they can replicate that. But looking at this, knowing this is happening, which does really upset me, what I'd like to think about or I suppose I'm asking you really, is that if man himself had been stronger, I'm talking about all mankind now,
right?
If as a human race we were stronger mentally than we have been, because I really don't think people have been strong enough to combat this. If they were strong enough to say, no, before this happened, I'm going before the robotic age happened, before the phones and everything else, would science have been able to increase the power of the human being with energy? Would they have been able to make our bodies with knowledge so powerful that we wouldn't need to drive a car? I know this sounds far-fetched,
right?
That we may be able to run as fast as a car without using energy.
Yes, I understand.
And when I look at the amount, and I'm talking rubbish in a way for me, because
no, it's a thought experiment.
Yeah, it's a thought experiment.
Yeah.
So my feeling is if all the energy that's out there for your phones and everything else we're using,
yes,
and the things going out into space,
yes,
that power, if that power had been harnessed into the humans for the greater good, would we have needed the technology even, or would we be able to use telepathy? Have we stopped ourselves from progressing?
Well, thank you, Anne. This is what we were talking about towards the beginning of this podcast, in terms of first reflecting on the writing that you read out. Is where would humanity be if it had continued on a certain track of evolution?
Yes.
Now that's hypothetical and a thought experiment, and possibilities that you are outlining are credible in as much as we know in terms of what humans are aware of. Humans are aware that they used to have physical capabilities that were much more widespread and common in terms of being able to navigate trees and being able to understand the natural environment, and a capacity for memory that was generally greater than it is now. And as an example, the oral tradition of humanity far supersedes in time what is written down. So as far as humans understand it currently, mostly, much of human history for the largest part was oral, in terms of it was a collective memory, and people remembered not necessarily literally everything, but a lot more than what is remembered now, and stories and information and knowledge was orally expressed and given.
Phone numbers.
Well, that's in the short term. That's very, very recent. That's an example.
That's an example, isn't
yes,
it?
That's an example of how the encroachment of technology in terms of phones, and another example is sat-navs, is that people are not remembering road names and road signs and routes. or routes for American listeners. Yeah, hopeful that we have some American listeners. Thank you for tuning in, all listeners from anywhere around the world, which would be wonderful. We are aware in our own lives how that's changed. Now, can you imagine over thousands of years and tens of thousands of years how, as far as humans understand history at this time, how it's changed?
Yes.
It is hypothetical, but we can use deduction, and we can use what we know, and we can use our awareness of each other, and even in today's environment, climate and society, to be able to deduce likely possibilities. And it's likely that the human capacity for communication and memory and the physical capacities of humans would be much stronger if humans were living much more like athletes. I don't mean in terms of training for the Olympics, but every day people were out walking, climbing trees, climbing mountains, dependent upon the physical environment that they lived in. It's perfectly understandable and logical that their physical vessel, the human body, is going to be much stronger and much more athletic than it currently is now, which is, for the most part, particularly in the first world, and to be honest, in all worlds, a very sedative lifestyle. So the human body's become flabby and weak and slow, and most people are overweight. Most people's bone density is lacking. Most people's muscle strength is lacking. Most people's flexibility is extremely limited. People's immune systems are weak, and the response to this is to intervene with technological and prescribed solutions in the forms of potions and medicines and technologies, some of which are necessary given the situation as it currently is, some of which, not all, and some of which help in the current situation, just to be clear, because I'm not talking about an extremity one way or the other. Common sense, I hope, prevails, that the human beingness would be very different. It would be very, very different. But we wouldn't have, based on the current situation, we wouldn't have books and motion pictures and music and musical instruments, cars, planes, travel, culture in that way, recipe books, ovens, cakes, I'm just thinking from one thought to the next. So the world that we live in is not all awful, and there's so much to take pleasure and meaning from. And the other world that you're talking about is vast in its possibility, but it's very narrow in its evolution, because what the human race has created is a huge scope of possibility, where the most awful and the most wonderful are very possible, whereas before it was a much more limited experience, because the amount of people that you cross paths with, where you could go on the physical earth, was greatly limited in comparison to where it is now, because of the evolution of certain technologies and idea, and the big one being books. So it's not as black and white in terms of right or wrong, or left and right, or here and there, or it should be or it could be. It is interesting.
So are we going backwards because we're eroding books now?
Yes, and that's another thing, isn't it? Are we going to take another step further away from the human potential?
Yes.
Do I feel getting back to nature, getting back to the outside environment, getting back to the human capabilities in its most basic sense? And I don't mean basic in terms of a lack of intelligence, ability or potential. I mean basic in terms of simplicity. How we live as simply as possible is going to unlock a greater human potential, as far as I'm concerned. I know that to be true. I do know that to be true. And I hope that everybody, you all can at least sense that we are forgetting ourselves. Yes, we can't go backwards. We can only go forwards. We can't go backwards. We can only go forwards. So,
but we can't lose the knowledge of what was behind either.
What is wonderful is a lot of that knowledge is stored in culture and in books and in story and in myth and in our collective memory, that we can reawaken and rekindle that. But what will work in terms of most effectively is to relive it, so that we are not speaking of wisdom gone. We can, as a human race, relive it so that we reawaken that wisdom, because the communities that used to be and the abilities that you're talking about in potential can be reawakened, and the human race can not only speculate as to what could have been or maybe what was, it can become what is and what is to become again, or what is to become again in terms of what is happening. So we can reawaken ourselves. That is unbelievably exciting.
So it becomes inclusive.
It's always inclusive. It's never not inclusive. It's only an idea that it's not. It's always inclusive.
Right.
And it's always human-led. Even this technology is human-led. If humans stopped, it would stop. It's human-led. Humans have given their power away. Humans have forgotten who they are, generally. It's time to remember. It's time to remember who the human race is, who you are, and who you're a part of. And that power has never gone away. So to answer, and I know I've spoken for a while again, Anne, to pass it back to you very shortly, the human race generally is mentally weak and is being kept mentally weak. The human race has all of the willpower if it summons its strength from inside itself, if it knows whom it's a part of, to say no or to say yes to any given opportunity. Because free will dictates that as an individual and as a collective species, there is great power in what is said and the decisions that an individual makes, and more importantly, the power that groups of individuals make. So the human race is powerful, and the united humanity is the most powerful force in the universe. I know that's rather abstract and could be taken either poetically or delusional, but I mean it quite literally in a way that's difficult to explain, but the human... Could you imagine that the energetic power of all the thoughts of humanity all together? All of the electrical impulses of all of humanity,
yes,
and all of the
yes.
harnessed potential energy that lies in humans.
Yes.
Now that summoned, directed, and confirmed, demonstrated, and lived together in unity,
yes,
is a force. It's the force, and it is the most creative, the most powerful, the most magnificent force there is. It's life, consciousness,
yes.
and it's what this technological future that those people are trying to bring in, it does not have. It does not have divine consciousness.
No.
It does not have consciousness in that way. And it never will have, because it is not of that nature.
So it's time for us to start finishing, to be honest. And what I'd like to say before we do finish is that to all of you who are listening, please, I would like you to share this podcast, because I think it's important. I think all of our podcasts are important to me. I think it's time that we as a human race started to listen to ourselves and listen to what we actually want this world to be. And then to work from that conscience that we have ourselves, because it's powerful, as you're saying now, it's very, very powerful. And we have the power,
the
as
most
a collective,
powerful,
to say yes or no. And most people are not listening. So I'd like everybody to just open their ears and their eyes and look around, because we all can get content with our own lives and in our own little homes and just watching our normal programmes on television. So I think it's time for us all to start using the energy that we're gifted with in that consciousness.
Yes. It's self-evident. I am extremely passionate about this.
Quite rightly so.
And I know I've been rather overbearing this morning in terms of...
No, you haven't. Please don't say that. You haven't.
And I will not apologise for stepping more into power about what needs to be said about what's happening. you will all have your own thoughts and ideas, as you should. And I hope if something resonates with you, and like Anne says, you wish to share it or speak about it, then please do. And if you think something else, then that's great, in terms of, I hope you've enjoyed having your mind stirred and your emotions stirred, in terms of being challenged and something deep and meaningful to think about. But I cannot beat around the bush, so to speak, about this. So this is going to be spoken about much more moving forward, and much action is going to be needed to be taken by everybody coming together. It was once said, well, can you do it without us? And the answer is no. It is a collective effort, we, humanity. And I will be as best example as I can possibly be. And I encourage you, Anne, to be the best example that you can be. And you are a wonderful, inspiring example. And I encourage and invite all of you listening to be the best possible example you can be in your life, to yourself and to those around you. And we can start there.
Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Another passionate, barnstorming, rip-roaring call to humanity to rise. The way of faith and goodness and life and love and hope is stirring, and humanity are uniting underneath.
Yes.
Those tectonic plates of faith are moving. The sands of time is shifting, and love is on the rise. Here we go. Let's go. Well, have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Wonderful week if you are listening in the week. And as always, we look forward to being with you and speaking with you again next week, next Sunday morning.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.